the nightmare scenario is somebody gains access, gains control of what we would call protected devices that control the power grid. That's a nightmare scenario. I think we saw it on the world stage when Russia invaded Ukraine, able to just turn the lights off. It would be devastating to have that happen somewhere here.
Welcome to the CNL Podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of IT and security professionals to uncover their experiences, challenges, and best practices in today's ever-evolving tech landscape. I'm your host, Cedric, Show Up, Show Out Lusant, also known as your cyber expert. And today I'm thrilled to welcome Kaber Esplin, Information Technology Manager at Garkane Energy Cooperative. Thanks for joining us today, Kaber. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you, Cedric.
I'm glad to have you on the show once again. Could you start off and tell the audience a little bit about your background and how you got started in the world of IT?
Did in high school, went to college for it, worked for the college, had a few different jobs, but for the past probably 7-8 years, I've worked for a power company. Garkane is a power cooperative. Co-ops are really cool. They're different than your city, municipality power or the bigger like Pacific Core power companies. As the IT manager, I do have a cybersecurity expert that works for me, but all of it falls under my responsibility, and I try to keep up with every part of it. And we have a complex environment that has a lot of OT devices is what we call them, but like pieces that control the power grid that are networkable, that take different types of programming and different code, and trying to secure all of it and button everything down. Also have it remote enough that we can not have to drive for hours and hours to fix different problems. Yep. That's been my background, and I got into it kind of just somebody told me that the co-op was hiring. I didn't really know anything about it. I applied, got in, and I think the co-ops don't do good at telling other people about them, but man, if there are people that are trying to get into IT or security, physical security, cybersecurity, a co-op is a great place to start. There's one probably close to almost everybody. They tend to be in a little bit more rural places, but they're the best. They're small, little, non-profit services for mine's electricity, but there's water, there's phone, there's internet, there's every type of co-op, and they're.
Oh, wow. I really didn't have an understanding truly the exponential different opportunities within the co-ops. And that's great to hear. So, I'm hearing about these network equipment, so you don't have to do truck rolls, and I'm thinking attack surface right away, right?
Exactly. Well, and we have a really broad attack surface. We have fiber that runs to every device, but the real world being not perfect. We utilize every type of technology. We have cellular connected devices. We have point-to-point microwave. We even use a lot of just radio, like a 450 to Ethernet, just RF radio that controls different sections of our power grid, turning it off, turning it on, getting readings, getting load line loss, all kinds of different things that we're able to leverage together. Where I'm at out in Utah, we have several thousand miles of power line and not that many people. So it's very sparse and very spread out. We utilize every type of communication technology in our grid.
You have to, right?
Yeah, you can't do it any other way.
Yeah, because the rolling a truck everywhere is just not feasible every time.
It's exactly an 8-hour drive from where I'm sitting right now to my furthest network location.
Oh, yeah, definitely need to make sure we have some sort of connectivity and redundancy. I have this next question, but I think I already know what you're going to say. So what's the biggest security threat you're seeing right now in your industry, the power industry specific, and what are you doing to combat that?
Well, I think there's two threats that we think about a lot in our industry. I mean, the nightmare scenario is somebody gains access, gains control of what we would call protected devices that control the power grid. That's a nightmare scenario. I think we saw it on the world stage when Russia invaded Ukraine, able to just turn the lights off. It would be devastating to have that happen somewhere here. As far as I know, I don't think that's ever happened in the United States. It's never happened to anybody I know. All of my community, that's what keeps us up at night. We've got to do this. We want as much air gap as possible. But far more common is just a business system attack, ransomware.
Mhm.
You click on a fish, you get your server encrypted. That's way more common, and I've seen it. And you combat that the same as any IT. You have good backups. You try to segregate. You do as much as you can to keep the important people in the important spot, and the people that will click on anything in the open spot. And yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Because you got to plan for them to fail, because at some point in time, it's
yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I think a lot of cybersecurity and IT, I mean, it's the simple, it's not easy, but it's simple. You know what to do. You know what you should do. You get it up and working. That's when your job really starts. Now you've got to
mm,
isolate. You've got to look at all of your scans. You got to see what ports are being utilized and try to lock it down. So it's just what I call actually finishing the project is where you do all of that stuff. It's not done until it's documented. So you've got to just do
that's a
all of it.
key. That's a key point. If it ain't documented, it
You
didn't even
didn't really
happen.
do it. Yeah,
There's no formal basis for you to start from and then not optimize from, if it's just in someone's head and relying on
right.
just knowledge transfers that that doesn't scale. What does a typical day to day look like for you in your current role?
It's very variable. Today, I'm
Mm,
catching up on a little bit of paperwork, trying to start 2025 off right. But yesterday, we were fixing some fiber switches and doing redundant channels to as many places as we could, upgrading some equipment. It just varies of what the needs are, and I'm trying to do better at having a few days strung together so that you're getting more things done instead of just reacting all the time. But in a co-op, you could do everything from fix the postage printer on the front desk to
mm.
configure the relay that controls the big power lines.
Okay. So yeah, it's very, very variable. And as a consultant myself, I can understand it. Different engagements every week. Might be doing a web application penetration test this week. Might be doing a controls review for, any specific framework like HIPAA or PCI, and working through those. It's always can vary.
We've got to get our PCI up. That's one thing that's on my list that I've been trying to make sure we can take credit cards the right way and have all the compliances and controls in the right up to spec.
Yeah, so as far as with your team, you're trying to leverage technology to its fullest extent, so you have connectivity everywhere out to your remote sites, right? So, what's your philosophy when it comes to balancing innovation and with security?
We try to do as many good things as possible. We do hit the brakes when we need to. Like, this is a good idea, but the way that everybody wants to do it maybe just is not a secure way. And it's been better since I've been here for a while that if we can get involved and have that network discussion first, like we want to do a VPN, we don't want to just open up an IP to the internet that's in a substation or something.
Mhm.
We try to balance. Right now, there's a few things that are open that I wish weren't, but also we've been able to close and remove some people from remote access that now we just have to kind of do it the hard way.
Mhm.
It's just always a balancing act. I worked for a long time at a university, and the guy there would always say, man, this place would be perfect and everything would run if it wasn't for the students. So you kind of have to balance, like, why are you doing all of this first?
Yep.
What do you want to, so it's a balance. Like, it would be perfect if there was no access, nobody needed anything, but the reason I exist is to get that connectivity out to the remote places.
I definitely can understand you, because at the end of the day, IT and security, you're here to support the business, right? Because if
Right.
the business is it's not running, it's gonna be a problem. And most of the time, if you put up so many roadblocks for some people, they'll just go around
They're
it.
just gonna
They'll try to
I've
go
had that.
around it some way.
Right. I've had that happen before where people do their own thing, and I would much rather be in the conversation. So maybe we start doing it, and I know that it's a little bit wrong or misconfigured, and then we at least can have the conversation.
Yep.
So I kind of wish it was the other way, that we start with it blocked and then open it up piece by piece, but just so that I can be in the conversation with people and even know about it, get it working, get their new solution up and running, And then over 2 or 3 weeks, crank it down. Hey, does it still work? Test it. Hey, try it again. I just turned a bunch of stuff, closed a bunch of stuff off. So that's how I stay at least in the conversation with the users.
Yeah, because when you don't have a seat at the table and you're trying to tweak things later down after the fact, it's much harder versus if you get involved from the inception of said idea, or probably makes it much easier to implement it from the get-go. But we understand sometimes it's not a perfect world, and sometimes the understanding of security was after the fact, but the willingness to be able to work together on it is really the key thing there. So let's kind of switch gears here a little bit. Was there any specific challenges you faced when you were climbing the ladder to get to where you are right now?
In the co-op, in the power industry, it's a very like lineman centric world. So when you approach their wage, it's hard for them to think a computer guy is going to be worth as much as a lineman guy pay wise. Even though, I
Until they
mean,
get
we've
hit
got
with ransomware and those protected devices get looked up,
right.
and then it's like, oh wait, we're not doing nothing right now. We need
Even just having the map on their device so they can see where the stuff is. I mean, there's
yeah,
so many.
key
There's
things.
one now. There's 3 people, but I mean, from one guy, you've got 64 linemen. You've got to realize that there's different values that people can bring different things to it. Has probably been
Yep.
one of the bigger challenges in my becoming the IT manager.
I could definitely see how that could come into play.
I mean, not many years ago, Garkane didn't even have an IT department, so it's all been kind of a
Yeah.
homegrown thing.
Yeah, definitely. So you're kind of having to do the education piece, and when it's time to invest in certain pieces of technology, you've got to make that case for, why and the reasoning behind it and et cetera, and what's driving it. And hopefully you do get that buy-in, because I know
Yeah.
it can be tough to make things happen without that. Well, good to see you're growing and you're helping them out. You're helping them out with that. So I'm actually learning a lot here because I'm getting a better picture of what a co-op is, let's say to Duke Energy or
So there's Duke
Ruckus.
Energy, there's Pacific Core, there's Southern System. These are all giant, giant
Mm,
corporations that have thousands of people. We just have a small section, but
mm.
the people who pay the bill are the owners of the co-op. It's a member-owned entity.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I know some similar organizations that are structured in the same way, similar to a lot of like law firms or consultants or whatever,
Right.
the member-owned
Well,
entities.
and to tie back to kind of what you asked earlier, co-ops are really good at paying. That structure is already built in because that's how linemen, everything is kind of about how linemen do it. So there's apprentices, journeymen, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a built in thing. So for IT people too, or even partway technical, like a relay technician or something, you can start with very little formal education at almost any co-op, and they'll train you up to what you want to be. So I think it's a really good spot to
That's
get a
awesome.
start at if people are looking to do something like that. And there's probably a co-op somewhere close to almost everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. So basically, the lineman journey. I know a few friends that have taken that route. They help out through a lot of the storms. They're
Yeah.
always on the go or helping out somewhere on some emergency situation. Definitely can see that structured path can be a great foothold for someone to use as a stepping stone for whatever they're looking to accomplish. What advice would you give someone who's just starting their journey into IT or cybersecurity?
Oh, I think you've got to find the reason why you're doing it. If it's just like any other job, you should search for a job and try to get paid to learn about it. If you can find something that you want to tinker with, like I really like RF radio systems. So if I can find some smaller project and build up those skills that way, if you can find something you care about to make you think about it all the time, the rest of it takes care of itself and you'll be the expert on it.
Yeah. Because what I tell people too is that you got to be in this and willing to continuously learn. So finding something that you want to tinker with and that brings you passion that you're interested in makes it so much easier for you to digest and get the information that you're going to eventually get, but it's in a manner that you actually want instead of being forced to cram. But what do you think is the most important skills any professional in this space should develop?
Well, it's almost like you said, if you can't learn from the internet, learn from a video, plural site or something, if you can't
Mm,
adapt what someone is showing you to your environment, to your hardware,
mm,
you're just going to have a hard time. That
yeah.
ability to digest the Google search, digest now the Chat GPT results, and make
Mhm,
that work in your system is a
mhm,
key ability. But also, like drawing the line of like, okay, here's where they described it, but my stuff starts here. I need to figure out being able to break down those projects into smaller sections. I think is being good.
mhm.
All of those skills are out there, and there's a job for each one of them.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. You gotta, it's not, you have to be able to take the research the information, interpret the information, understand how do you apply that information to your set environment, because if if you're just taking it in and you don't understand how to truly, because it's not most of the time, a lot of these, when you're researching something, it's for you to implement in your environment. So it's not going to give you a complete A to Z. It might give you the structure, know how, like the templates or the format way to go about it, but you still, like I said, you gotta figure out how to make it work within your environment. And not just ChatGPT, just the
Oh
advancements
yeah.
in large language models in general, because I'm seeing in almost all of my software that I'm using that they're implementing some sort of AI capabilities to enhance the product offering. For example, Atlassian's Jira being able to auto generate more descriptive Jira tickets based off of just my summaries that I put in. It's understanding what I'm trying to get done based off that summary and walks through and starts to plan out all the individual things that I normally would have to do. But now it's even more thorough, and I can and communicate that to the other stakeholders that I'm working together with. The video editing software that I use leverages now AI capabilities to help you out and cut some time down for some of the manual video editing. It's crazy, just in general.
I did think of one thing I wanted to back up to, that you've got to figure out what part actually applies to you and be able to do
Mm,
it, and tweak those instructions. And you're going to make the wrong choice a few times, but if you can look around and be kind of that self-starter, if you know, maybe you don't know what to do, but if you're doing something, if you saw something that needs to be fixed or tweaked or changed, if you have initiative and are able to go do those type of things, especially like on smaller teams, like that's just such a huge benefit,
mm,
and you'll go so much further because you already know. You're like, oh, I need to do this. I'm working on it. This is a little bit more important. I'll fix
mm.
it. That ability to just get work done and not necessarily have everything outlined for you is a
Yep.
huge skill.
Yeah, because you never know. Again, like every day, and I always ask that question, like, "What is a day to day look like?" I know you. Most every, I'm in the field, so every day is always different. But to the outside, they might think you're doing the same thing every single day, day in and out. No, it's very variable, and I think that's one common misconception that I've heard of that's always made me laugh. What about one for you? What's one tech misconception you've heard that's always made you laugh?
Oh man, the one that I don't know if it's a myth or the saying, but like they're like, oh, at least it's you're fixing a problem for somebody, and they always will say, well, at least it's job security. And I was like, man, but how secure would your job be if you did have everything working all the time and you
Yeah,
did have
yeah,
to get the big projects done instead of just be tied up with a little Excel formula or whatever this
mhm.
person's problem is. So like that job security. Well, of course there's job security. Everything is digitized. Everything's computerized. There's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's only getting more and more, especially with AI and all these other things.
Yeah.
It's creating even more opportunities. But when you're not fighting cyber threats, what do you enjoy doing for fun?
Oh, I've got a little farm out here, and I actually raise a big garden. I keep some honeybees, and I stare at a screen so much at work that I'll go home and do anything else other than
I
look at
hear
it.
you.
I am kind of a ham radio, regular radio enthusiast, so I get on the airwaves and I use that technology a lot in my off time. But I just am out here. I have right now two mama pigs and five little baby ones, and we just have a little farm going out here.
Awesome, awesome. You got touching grass. That's what I try to
Yeah.
tell my son when I try to get him to disconnect when he's just trying to play video games all the time. And I'm the same way. Whenever I'm not staring at my screen, I just want to be done, and I don't want to look at anything. Like I'll read a book. I'll read a book and do. I actually on my off time, I I like to compete in mixed martial arts and jujitsu. So
Oh yeah.
I spend a lot of time in the gym
I'm
training
like
real hard.
6 classes into jujitsu. I actually got a little bit of the mat burn right now. So
Hey, that's what's up. Yeah, I got my four stripe purple. Oh, they cut the
oh
lights
wow.
off on you. Wow,
Yeah, I've got a
the room
motion
didn't
sensor
see
light. Let me turn you those real quick.
you.
Yeah,
The
we have energy saving initiatives, so they have the motion sensor light all over.
Hey, that's what's up. I dig it. I dig it. I'm a four stripe purple belt. Looking to get my brown belt in March. So continuously working hard there, training for my
That's
next professional
People have
fight.
no idea how much effort that is.
Yeah.
Hours of practice to just get from blue to purple.
Yup. And it's even more when you train at different gyms. I've been training since 2014.
Oh
And I'm
wow,
just
10 years.
now a four stripe purple, but it's all good. I'm enjoying the journey. I love it. It's just been something that I've used not only for fun, but to also protect others.
It's so
It's
good
an
for your
amazing
mind
skill set.
too. It's just like cybersecurity almost, like it's a mental
Yeah.
challenge.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yep.
love
Yep. We think of everything so your arm don't get snapped or your heel don't get ripped off
it.
or you get choked unconscious. So yeah, it's definitely I see it as chess, definitely mental jujitsu for sure. Oh, and
Yeah,
it's funny you made that analogy. I use that all the time, with my friends who don't really
yeah.
understand either or. But awesome. Well, so I really didn't have anything else. It was a great conversation that we had, and I would definitely love to have you back on the show, Kaber. Thank you for sharing your incredible insights and experience with us today. It's really been a pleasure. For our listeners out there, where could they find you and connect with you?
I don't do a ton of the social media. I guess I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, Handsome Cab at Instagram, and I think it's just Kaber Esplin on LinkedIn. I go to a big cybersecurity conference here in Utah. St. Con is in
Mm,
October, so involved in
mm,
that, and it'd be great to any listeners to we
mm.
have it's a whole thing, so it'd be great if anybody wants to be involved with that.
Awesome. So, all listeners, if you're in the area, definitely check it out or on the airwaves. Check out
Oh
Caver.
yeah,
Uh,
KIZ 70 is my call sign on the ham radio, so maybe I'll catch any of those guys.
oh, all right. Well, for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the CNL podcast for more conversations with IT. Until next time, stay safe and stay secure.